Welcome to You Can Do It. Today is the big one in the DMF on a VW 2 litre T5 DSG. I'm two minds whether to try and do this just out in the open on the ground, just to show that you can do all this without any special equipment, or do it in the barn over the pit because it's due to rain today. So I'm going to make that decision in a minute. The whole point of this video is to show you that we can do this without too many special tools. So first things first, let me make that decision and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, decided I'm going to do it over the pit because I think the weather's coming in quite bad now. The point of this video obviously is to show you how to do it, and stick with us. I'll show you at the end of the job what tools I've used and everything, because I don't fully know yet because I haven't done the job. Once the job's done, I'll give you a list of what I've used, what tools you need and everything. So first of all, let's get straight to the chase. Let's get this over in the garage and let's get cracking. We're inside. Before we jack it up and do everything, we'll flip the bonnet here. Okay, before we do anything, we'll just disconnect the positive to the battery, just so we can't do any shorts or anything. I'll say this is the first time I've done one of these, so I'm going to take the start motor out from the top here, because I don't know how long the leads are, because my plan is to try and drop the engine down, obviously twist it down and take the box out, but I don't know how long the leads are for the starter motor and everything. So just to be safe, I'm going to take the starter motor out from here. Now I've got a video on YouTube about that if you need to, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this off, push it over there. I'm going to take that tube off and get to the bolts on the starter motor from the top here, and there's one underneath, and the power lead. So first things first, we take our trusty old thing off there. Pull that off the back there. Two little torque screws there to do. What I'll do is I'll need to just disconnect this one here, and what I'll do is I'll put a bolt that holds the engine cover underneath. I'll put one of those in there to stop fluid coming, and then we can pull that aside. So let me do that now. Okay, bolts in there. So I'll now just undo these two here and swing this out. We basically just take this pipe off. So one there, and then I'm going to go down the bottom there. We'll just lift that little clip up down there, you can see right on the light, and then disconnect the cables, little cables on there, and I can take that whole tube out. Gives me lots of access. So let me get and do that. I've said this in lots of my videos, but just in case you haven't seen any of them, the way you get these clips off, sometimes they can be they're really hard to get off, and you're like messing around with it. What you have to do is you have to push that clip that way really hard, and then you can just use your nail with that and it comes off easy. Okay, all the cables are off, and then we just pull that little tab down there up. I'll pull that tab there, and then I just need to do the other end with the long screwdriver. So let me clip the other end out. Okay, look, you put a screwdriver on there. I've gone and clipped that. Okay, I've taken the little plastic one out of there, and I've loosened this off here. That's loose here, so this will come off. Look, that will come off. I can take that whole pipe out now. As I thought, you have to take the starter motor out of the top here, because that cable there, which is the main feed in for the starter motor, basically is really short. So if you try and drop the box, you'll just end up messing up that thing. So I basically just have to disconnect. There's a little zip tie there. I'll release this one here, this little clip here, if you can see there. I'll take that off and push that off. And then that means I can take that cover off, and behind there is the nut that holds that power lead on. So I'll do that. Now we've got a 13mm there to take off that earth strap. So 13mm socket in there, and behind that is a 16mm we need to take out, and that's the top bolt for the starter motor. And then we just need to undo this one here, which is again, I think it's a 13, and that's the main power in from your battery. So I'm going to undo those. Okay, we're underneath now, guys. So we've just got to undo that 13mm there, and that's I think it's 16 again, just to get that bottom bolt off the starter motor. We just clear this stuff here out, and then we can take the starter motor out. Okay, now we can get the start motor out. So we've got to take that out and basically pull it out this way, like that. Pull it out and back. I need two hands to do that. I'll show you. Pull it back out, and then you bring it up here. Once I remove the oil filter or the pipes, it's Yeah, just down there. There it is. So as I'm actually going to move the oil filter, rather than disconnect these pipes, I'll be able to get to that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'll start taking the wheels off and we'll start dropping that subframe. Okay, the vehicle's jacked up just so that I can get the wheels off. So I'm going to take the wheels off on both sides. I'll use my trusty impact driver. So let me take the wheels off. Okay, wheels off both sides. Loosen that one. I've got an impact, so that was easy to whip off. And then the bottom ball joint. Look, the nut's off there. You've got to take the nut off there, and then you've got to split that joint. Now you know the good old way of smacking it with a hammer hard there if it won't come off. But that's split. That'll come off there. So we're ready to drop that. Get the lower ball joint out of the arm. Pull this arm out, and we can try and get that drive shaft out. So let me get on and do that. Okay, so we've got the drive shaft out. Look, she's down there. You don't have to take these right out, but I'm going to do it on this one. So I've taken that obviously out of there. This end is in the old. They've got bolts. They've got like 6 bolts around it, but the newer ones have basically just got a little. They've got a little circlip on the end there. Look, and that's how they work. So to get that off, you have to just go underneath to the box, and you just get a lever up, a tire lever up there, and just gently push it against the or crowbar. Just push it against the box, and that pops off, and then you can get it off. So if you can't get this off, that'll be the problem. Okay, so we've done that. So now we need to do the same on the other side. We're on the other side now. That's the right hand side of the vehicle, depending on whether you're left or right handed. Okay, so we've got those 2 bolts there, which is just holds this carrier for the drive shaft. So I'm going to undo those. They're 13mm. So I'll undo those. I'm going to take this right off, so I'm going to undo that nut there, on there, and we're also we're just going to split this ball joint here. So I'm going to whip that off, separate this, you know, hit it with a hammer here if it won't come off easy. Separate that, and that allows me to pull this whole hub assembly out and get that drive shaft out. I mean, I know you don't actually have to do this, but I'm going to just take that off for easy use and take it right off, because you can actually leave them hanging and tie them behind. But I just want to do it this way. So this is the base with a 30mm on there. Just try it on the first setting. It's on the lowest setting, yeah? On there. Let's see. Yeah, that's on the lowest setting. That's amazing, eh? Right. So that's off. So now I'm going to push that out. I've undone the two up there. So now we'll just take that. We'll just take that drive shaft out. I'll just show you here. You basically just get yourself. I use the actual handle off of the trolley jack, and you just run it up there underneath that. You're not actually touching the steering rack. You just hand underneath there, and then once you lift that down, you can then get the wheel out, which I've done. Okay, look, to get this drive shaft off, we then just have to pull it. Oh, look, the whole lot comes out like that. Okay, so we've got both drive shafts out. Okay, back underneath, just disconnect your oil temperature thing. Tuck that up the back there. We've got a lot more work to do up there in a minute. Okay, so while we're here, the next thing to take off is this bracket here, look. So we've got to take that off, and then the other one is there. Yeah, so that bolts into the box. So we've got to just undo those and take that off, so I'll do that now. Okay, that's off, so now we'll take out this one, which is obviously bolting the gearbox to the engine. So that's one. Let's do that now. Okay, that's out. Just remember, you need a really deep 18mm socket for that, because that's a really long bolt. Actually using 19mm because I couldn't find my deep 18, so that's all right. Okay, so you've got one more bolt right up the top there, which is sort of beside the cooler up there. We've got one bolt there. Right, got one bolt there, one bolt there, one bolt there, and the third bolt there. Last one's there, sorry, not the third, the last one. So yeah, that's what we do. So I'm not going to undo those yet. We're going to start doing some other stuff first. Right, now we're going to start looking at trying to get ready to drop the subframe. So there's 2 bolts here, look, one there and one there. That's for the exhaust support, so that's going to come off. So let's do that now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to undo those for that's the engine support. And then we need to do the steering rack. But let's do these 4 and those 2 there. Okay, got all those out. I had to take that off purely because one of the bolts in here was completely seized because of presumably the salt from winter. So I had to heat it up with a blowtorch through here. But you don't need to take... there's that bit there that sits on these off. You don't need to take that off. I just had to get a bit more access. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to loosen the bolts for the for the steering rack here. There's 4. There's one there, one there, one there, and one there. So what we're going to do is, after we've undone those bolts, we're just going to zip tie the steering rack up so that when we drop the subframe, the steering rack stays exactly the same. So get some long zip ties and we'll zip tie that up. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we just need to take this little bracket off here. There were some cables that I've taken up here. We just slot those aside. I don't know whether they need to take this off, but I'm going to take it off anyway. Okay, next job is we just need to split this cable here, because if the subframe's going to come down, and this is connected to the subframe, so this is we'll just disconnect this cable here. Okay, look, you can see it's zip tied there, and I've got another one on the top there. Whether you can see that or not, I don't know. There's another zip tie there, so I've got 3 zip ties on her. So the steering rack is all supported. That's done. This is all hanging up there. Let's move, the cable's done. So now we're getting close. So we just need to undo this one here and the same one on the other side. Okay, I don't need to take that bolt we've got up there because I'm dropping the subframe a bit, aren't I? So I've just taken that one out there and that one out there. Okay. I'm just going to drop this, disconnect this anti-roll bar link. So I'll get on and do that. Okay, so now we're going to start trying to just lower the subframe. So this is the back bolt, and then if we go up to the front, we've got the front one there. So we'll just undo those a little bit, and the subframe now should start dropping. You just want to check that you haven't got any up at the back here. Make sure all your cables are tied up and everything. But then we're about ready to drop the subframe. Okay, look, I've taken that bolt out, and if you look up there, if you look up the hole there, look, you can see where that's positioned, right? And it's not perfectly in the centre there. So just so that we get this back in exactly the same place, a little trick I do is I spray some coloured spray up there, and that'll mark where that is for when I put it back together. I'll get my little can of, I've got a bit of can of yellow here. See what happens there. Yeah. Once that's dried, that's marked exactly that thing. So when the subframe comes down, I'll have a ring which I'll know exactly where that needs to be. Okay. That just holds it just so it doesn't fall down if you're on your own and you haven't got someone else giving you a lift with it. So that just supports the front when I drop that down, and then it means all I need to do then is support the back. Or I could get this box out by just having this hanging and use it as a support, but actually it's far too big. It's going to hit here. So what I'm going to do is just take the whole subframe off. So all I need to do then on this side, I've done exactly the same as I did on the other side. I've taken the mount bolts out and sprayed up there, so I know exactly where they went. So now I'm going to undo the 4 bolts, and I'll drop this subframe off. Okay, we're back up on top now. Now there's I've undone the oil cooler, which was 3 bolts, so you can pretty much. Okay, back underneath now. We just need to disconnect the megatronic, which is turn that like that. Look, you pull that out, it's a little plug that goes in. It's got a thing that turns on it, so that's disconnected. Hold that up there. Okay, you can see the underneath of the oil cooler there. So the only thing we've got left connected is the gear linkage, which I'll work out how to get that off in a minute. So now while we're under here, we've just got the engine supported on there. I've got a little bit of rubber floor mat there just to sort of deform a little bit, because you don't want to put point pressure on this, because it's just an aluminium casing, piece of wood that's going to support the engine. Okay, jack supporting both the engine and the gearbox, so I'm going to undo these two now quickly, and then eventually we'll take the whole thing off, but I want to undo those two now, and then the weight will go onto the jack on the gearbox, and then I'll slowly lower the gearbox jack until the gearbox is just hanging free, and then I can adjust it with the other jack. This is going to hit on your mudguard shroud. So basically you've got to take that off, which is 3 bolts here, and then there's about 7 around there, and then there's 1 little hex bolt at the back there, and then you can take that shroud out. Then there's going to be space here for that to come. Otherwise, what's going to happen, that's going to catch on this shroud when you're trying to get it out, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. Of course, if you've got a big lift, then it won't be a problem. Okay. Next thing, sorry for the bright light, but the next thing is you take your gear linkage off. So you push this button here, and then you can pull this out of here. It pops it out this, but then this is in a sort of cage here. So then what you have to do is you have to actually pull this cable back, so you can pull it back out. So you push that lever, it pops up, and then pull it back out of there. But obviously before you can do that, you've actually got to take the end of that off, which I just use a little spanner to get underneath the plastic grommet that's onto the actual transmission lever, and you leave that up. Okay. I'll just show you. I couldn't find anywhere a video on this, and I didn't know what's going on. So that is on there, and it's on there. There's no clip or anything. So what I did was you just get like a open-ended spanner. Yeah, I can't see them in the mirror. Put it under there and then lift that thing up. And don't worry, because I was worried I was going to break something, but it does. And I think it just pops back on. So once that's loose, yeah, then you can push the lever, like I said, behind, and take that off. So that's now, everything's disconnected from the box. So we're ready now to actually take the box off. Okay, look, I've tied up with cable ties the oil cooler, the gear linkage, just to keep everything out of the way. So everything's out of the way from the gearbox. So when you're underneath, you can see it's all clear. Do that, because that'll save you a lot of hassle. I say now I'm just ready to undo all the bolts, and we'll slide the gearbox out. Okay, engine bolts. We've done the one right up there. That's out. That was right at the top. We've done this one here. So we just got this one here on the back, and then all the rest are just around the bottom on the front. So I'll start loosening those off now, and then it's probably a 2-man job just to get someone to help me hold the gearbox while I pull it off. Okay, so the strategy, where's my light? The strategy is that we're just going to undo these bolts, pull the box, and as I'm on my own, I'm not going to pull the gearbox right the way out from underneath. I'm just going to we're going to pull it out here, and then hopefully this support here will stop the gearbox turning like that on the jack. So I can rest the gearbox here, and then I can change the flywheel, change the flywheel. Now you see, look, there's the teeth on the flywheel. So this flywheel, it's got to come off a good sort of 4 or 5 inches. So it's a long way. So that's why I've had to drop it down a lot and take that guard out of the way. Okay. Anyway, let's get on. So I've got all of them undone on that side and around the other. So it's just basically held on with that one and the equivalent one on the other side, which was by the exhaust bracket, which I'll put back in just to make sure. So what I'll then do is start undoing those, just to give them just get a little bit, and then I'll just try and crack the box, and then I know it's loose, and then we can undo those and take it off. Okay, I'm worried that when I take this box off, it's going to spin on this jack like this way or that way. I'm on my own. I've got to take it off, and then I'm going to try and wedge it underneath there. So what I've done is I've just got myself a 1/4 bit extension. If you run that in there, look, that is gonna that will stop the gearbox rotating. Got to show you this actually. It's working a treat actually. So this is coming out on these dowels here, and there's a lot. I can see there's a lot. I can feel there's a lot of force trying to get it to twist. But this is going to be a brilliant way for when we put it back together again. So we can locate it on that and then slide it in. So this is just slid off nicely on the trolley jack. So look, I've just got there. Let's just come off a bit more, and I'll just keep doing that. And it's now free. That's completely free of the flywheel now. Look. So now what we're going to try and do is get that up the top there, just to rest on there, and then I can start working on the clutch. Okay, that's off. That's resting up there, so that can't twist. Now I've got enough room there, look, to get in and get these bolts undone. So first of all, got to get the torque bit in there, and I'll start undoing those and taking it off. Okay, look, if you haven't got an impact drop, I mean, if I had help, I'd take that right out and then I'd put my impact tools on there, but I can't, so I've got to get in there. If you want to stop it spinning, look, just stick that bolt, because it's got a thread in here. Screw that bolt in there, put a lever like I've done there, and then you can put that in and turn it. So I've untorqued all those now, so I'll quickly whip them off and I'll take the flywheel off. Flywheel's off, but if you look down there, look, there's a bearing in there. And that quite often needs to be replaced, so I've got a new one to replace it with. And if you actually look on the spigot here, look, you can see that's a bit dry, so that hasn't been running very. So I'll change the bearing as well. There's the that's the replacement bearing. There's a part number there if you need it. So that's a new flywheel. So I'll change that bearing, and we'll start bolting up the flywheel. Okay, just checking the flywheels. This is the one that came off, 330 561. New one, 330 561. They're the same flywheels. Did really well with this actually. I managed to get this off a guy who'd had it in storage. It's a couple of years old, but it's never been used or never been fitted, obviously. Brand new. Only paid £200 for that. Did well on that. So yeah, so I'll put that back once I change that bearing. So I'll need to now get a little blind bearing puller to pull out that bearing. So let's get on and do that. I've got these blind bearing pullers off the internet. They're good because you don't have a. I mean, I've got set with slide hammer, but I can't get. I've got enough room to get the slide hammer going. So you just put this in, and then you can just extract it out. So I'll find whichever one that fits, and I'll start the job now. Okay, so I've put that in there. I've tightened that up. I've splayed it, so that's just expanded inside of that, and then I can just now pull it out with the bolt. Okay, so that's there. If I just screw that bolt in, screw that nut in, then it'll pull the bearing out. Okay, so if you pulled that out, okay, you definitely need a blind puller to pull that thing out. Just as a sideline, look, you can see up there where that spray worked. So I can see exactly where I've got to put that subframe back, so I know all the steering and everything will be okay. Because quite often you have this done and then you put your subframe up slightly differently, and then your steering's not aligned and your wheel's not right. So yeah, a good little tip there. Okay, to drive that bearing in, you've got to be really careful that you don't damage that edge. So I've just got to find a socket that will fit in there. Oh, yeah, fits in, and then it's flat there. So I just put the drive in the wrong way around, and then I know I can just gently tap like that, and that again. So I'll put a little bit of grease around the outside, and let's get on. Okay, that one in. You see, it goes down past the. So don't hit it so it's flush. It's got to go past that. So yeah, that's in there nice. So it's a new bin. I'll put a little bit. I'll pack it with a bit of grease, and then we're ready to put the flywheel on. Okay, look. While we're up here, I found here. Look, that would have been a nightmare. Because you couldn't see it from the top, but look, that's rubbed there. It's rubbed on the gearbox. It hasn't gone through the cables, but I'm going to put some amalgamating tape around that to protect that for next time. So that one went off. That would have gone off to the thermostat, and then also further round. So good job I saw that. So check your wiring while you're here for any sort of rubs like that. We're going to stick up the flywheel now, but look, just if you notice here, look, there's two of these holes that are close together. Let's make sure that you can't put the flywheel on any other way than they want you to. There's two holes, so what you do is look up here and find there's two holes that are closest together, and my two are there. So I know that the flywheel has to go on between those two. Oh no, they're there actually. There and there, so it's got to go on there. Okay, that helps you locate it. So let's get it up and screw it on. Always make sure you use your new bolts, but they should come with the kit when you buy your flywheel because they're stretch bolts. So and it's got a little bit of Loctite on there. So, but yeah, you do these. I think there's 60 Newton meters plus quarter turn. So I'm going to just start doing all these up as tight as I can by hand, and then we'll get on to torque it up. Okay, now we're just going to put the bolt back in there, screw that in, and then you obviously put a tyre lever on the other side like that. And then I'm going to just torque these up initially to about 20 Newton meters, and then I'll do 40 Newton meters. Okay, I've just checked the torque specs. It's 60 Newton meters plus quarter of a turn because they're stretch bolts. So I'm going to do each one of these 60 Newton meters and then quarter of a turn. Once that's done, we can start putting the gearbox back. So I'll continue the video because getting the gearbox back is going to be interesting. So I think I've got a few ways we can do that. Okay, that's all done. I wouldn't say you've got to be really careful in here because this bit here only sticks in a tiny, about 5 mil, not even that. So if you twist this when you're torquing it up, it'll ping out and you'll end up rounding off that. So that's all done now. So it's a case of now putting the box back on. Okay, look, I used those splines again to get that all to locate up. So all I did with the jack was moved it forward, jacked it up so I could put the rod through, those two. I did the same on the other side, and then you can just literally slide the gearbox in. So it actually makes the job a really treat. So now I'm just going to put all these bolts back and re-torque it all up. I'll carry on just assembling stuff, but if there's anything of any importance, I'll do a video. But otherwise, you know what you're doing. You just got to put it all back together again now. Okay, engine's all back up there and tight. Just remember to do the put your megatronic there. You can actually put you can put the top gearbox bolts in while the engine's lowered. Makes it a lot easier. So I put both those top bolts in, and then I actually put the oil cooler back on. So the oil cooler was back on. The only thing that I haven't put back in is the starter motor, which I'll do that later. Yeah, so linkage is back on and everything. Remember your linkage and stuff like that. So now I'm just going to put the subframe under, and we'll start putting all that back together. Okay, we're putting the subframe back. But if you're on your own and you're having a problem getting this up, what little trick I do is I wrap a little strap around there onto here. Look, so you can put it under your shoulder. You lift that right up there, so that's on the strap there. Look, so she's just hanging on that strap, and this back end is down. And then I'll put a jack up under here and jack it up, so if you're on the ground or you're in, you can do it. Okay, look, starter motor's in there, and the bracket that holds all those cables up there. So we're all done underneath here now. I won't put the tray up until I've run it a bit and we've just seen if we get any leaks or anything. Yep, so we're all done underneath. Okay, we're all done up the top here. Put all this back, put the pipe back, make sure all the connections are done. So all we've got to do now is start her up. So let's see what she sounds like. Okay, now for the start up. Turn her on. Oh, listen to that. She's a beauty. Oh, so quiet. Before it was rattling, and as you know with these DMFs, they rattle a lot more when they're cold. So she's sweet. So we're good to go. So now let's move on to just go over the tools that I used. What do we need for the job? Obviously you need the new DMF flywheel. You need new bolts. I wouldn't really use them again because they're stretch bolts. New little cage bear in there for the end. That's actually really important because that actually can sort of seize up, and then you're going to end up with more problems. You need some blind pullers like that to be able to pull that bearing out. I just got these off the internet. They're only like 14 quid. I have my impacts, but you don't need those obviously. You need 30 12 point to undo the half shaft nut on the end. Then you just basically need a section of sockets ranging from 13, You generally, it's 13, 16 or 18. So the 16 and the 18, you haven't got in your normal kits, so you need to make sure you've got those, because they always sell them without those two key ones. You need, depending on your ball joints, if they're seized and the nut spins, you'll need to lock it on the end. You'll need some of these torque bits, which you'll need anyway to get to the little screws on the vehicle. So you need a set of torque bits. I always have a set of Allen keys as well, and then just some small short sockets going up to 18, because some of the engine ones on the gearbox to engine, you haven't got a lot of space. If you've got a deep one, you're not going to get in there. That isn't going to work. I mean, this is my little portable wrap, so you don't need all of this stuff in here. A pair of pliers to take the clips off of the expansion tank when you're taking that off. You need some wire cutters. Now, why do you need wire cutters? Because you need a lot of these really long cable ties, because you want to be cable tying the steering rack up when you drop the subframe, so that the steering rack is basically just suspended in the air. Plus, you want to pull things out of the way, like the oil cooler, if you take that off, and pipes and things, just to make your job a lot easier. Never try these jobs without having loads and loads of these. So you need them. You need a torque wrench if you're going to for torquing up the engine bolts. I think I did mine 60 and then quarter of a turn. You always need like a little, I've got a tyre lever there, a little tyre lever, motorbike tyre lever. That's always useful for getting things on and off. And a big hammer, which is always useful. And then I've got, just your trolley jack. And that's about it. That's good to get the job done. So that gives you a rundown of what you need. So I hope this video has been helpful. Interesting job to do. You can do it. You can do it on the tarmac. Obviously make sure you've got all the stuff there, because otherwise we get up and down, out and out. I did this in the pit, but it's still a bit of an exercise getting in and out. I hope this video has helped. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you've got any comments or questions, send me some comments and I'll answer, because I couldn't find anything on the internet about taking the DSG VWT5T6 gearbox off. I didn't know whether I had to drop the subframe or not, or I could hang the subframe, blah blah blah. So if you've got any questions, or you're unsure about something, send me a comment. You can do it.